Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome back to the Hangin with Web Show. I'm GW Pomichter. Thank you so much for logging on, tuning in, clicking links. However you got here, we're glad you're here. Hit subscribe so you can be here again and again and again. We have amazing authors, artists, filmmakers, musicians, creators of all kinds here on the Hangin with Web Show. We are at Space Coast Book Lovers in Cape Canaveral, Florida this weekend, and we're hanging out with author Lexi Post, the author of Beast of Eden. Lexi, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a little while.
A few years.
Well, you know, we're writers, so we don't count in years. We count in books. And I think it's been about 19 books.
About that.
It was 19 books ago we talked to Lexi for the first time. And as you can tell by that number, she's been slightly prolific.
A little busy.
Yes. But you know what? Let's talk about Beast of Eden. This is the most recent?
This is the most recent, yes.
Okay, Beast of Eden. Give us the book blurb here. Tell us about Beast of Eden.
Beast of Eden is the 6th book in a series.
Okay.
On my planet Eden. Yes, and it is a planet full of naked men where the women from Earth are taken as their beloved. And every woman must have at least 2 men.
All the girls behind the camera just did this whole
dance,
champion dance thing, and okay, all right. So
doesn't know where to go with that.
No, I'm speechless, absolutely speechless. And
well, let me tell you, every book was inspired by an Emily Dickinson poem.
No one saw that coming. None of you saw that coming. You all went Eden, naked men. 2 per, and none of you saw that that was an Emily Dickinson
That's correct.
poem. All right, so you're going to have to build the bridge.
Explain. Okay.
Yes, build us the bridge that gets us from Emily Dickinson to...
I was a literature professor.
Okay, yes.
So all of my books are inspired by classic literature. And I read this wonderful poem by Emily Dickinson. Well, I've read most of her poems, but this one was about rowing in Eden, and it was very sensual poem for a woman who was a recluse and a virgin. And I thought, wow, and it just inspired a whole series for me. So every book, I have one of her poems, and each poem has something different. With Beast of Eden, it's all about the past. It's a poem by her that's called The Past. And it's all about the past and how it kind of stays with you, and maybe you don't let go of it, or maybe you don't want to remember it. And so my main hero, who is a shifter, half direwolf, half dragon, he has a very bad past. And so he doesn't want to be involved with anybody.
Okay.
He set up a whole civilization that he calls Una for one. And of course, one of his old friends and a woman from Earth come into Una, and things happen.
As things would.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about that though. For modern fantasy fiction, which you draw so much inspiration from literature.
Yes.
Okay, and Emily Dickinson, while like you said, her life story is known, her poetry has stayed with us for so long because it is incredibly evocative. It makes you think.
Yes.
And it makes you think on a different level than just the phrase or the words.
Right.
And you've been able to build, entire worlds.
Yes.
From a single poem.
Yes.
And by the way, that is why Emily Dickinson is taught everywhere forever, because she can build a whole world in a single poem.
Absolutely.
We were all struggling to do that with 600 pages. Emily Dickinson could do it right there.
Yeah.
And that's something to aspire to always. And so, what drew you to Dickinson's poetry to start with?
Well, I was never, even though I studied literature, poetry was never my thing. Mm-hmm. And when I was first introduced to Emily Dickinson, it was always her more religious poems and very, very conservative poems. And I've been a rebel from day one, so I wasn't really interested.
Oh, over there.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
whatever. And then I started teaching it, and when I started teaching it, I got the whole set of her poems, and I was like, wow, she was a feminist. Wow, look at this. She was very sensual in some of these. They never taught us that in high school, of course.
No. You get to learn the conservative Emily Dickinson, but what you don't get to see is behind the writing, there's a person.
Oh, yeah.
And the more you study and the more you learn, the more you get to know that that person is far more, there's more depth
A lot of depth.
than what we see or what what a biography would tell you,
yeah.
or even a biopic or whatever. There's so much more depth of character in an individual
Yeah.
that, especially in those times, you cannot share.
No.
And so when you're a poet, you find a way to hide everything in a turn of phrase.
And she didn't want her poems published, ever. They weren't supposed to be published.
No, this is not for consumption. Surprise, we're all studying it today, and you've built worlds based on these poems. Now, what is we talked to you early in 2016, I think it was, 19 books ago, and what has this journey been like this last couple of years?
It's been very busy. And
Well, because we talked before, from academic now to you're on this side of a signing table. It's
been very exciting. I started. They said to write what you know, and of course I knew literature, but I always loved romance. And I don't know if you've noticed, but with classic literature, 99% of it ends badly.
Yes.
So for those of us who like a happy ending, I just be able to take some of my favorite pieces of literature and build a story around it that has a happy ending. And I call it my inspiration because I'm not rewriting the story. I'm taking the story from where it ended and I'm moving beyond it. Like for Heart of Frankenstein, I actually gave the monster his love story 250 years after Shelley wrote the book.
That's awesome, by the way. Because that monster's been waiting a long time.
He has.
As a literature professor, so much of the time we spend teaching our peers that the literature is more than the story you know. There's so much built in there. Shelley wrote a contemporary expose on lifestyle and parenting. And love and finding, and being the outsider.
Yeah.
And it got lost. It
got lost in the movies and the
lost
TV
in the movies
shows.
and electricity and bolts and
Yeah.
it was lost in there.
Yeah.
And it takes another writer to find it.
Yeah.
Because Frankenstein is, like you said, it's a tragic ending. The only ending possible for father and son in that environment.
Well, the father dies.
Yes.
But the son, the monster,
goes
off onto the Arctic.
Yep, is cursed to wander alone.
Yeah.
And so it's the only ending that can be in that era.
Right.
But you're able to come and say, hey, you're immortal. You've been
immortal.
given this curse for your story and gift in a way.
Right.
And a couple hundred years is a good time to be able to figure out the difference.
Well, he also had to make amends for all the terrible things. The monster was terrible.
Yes.
But when I used to teach that story, my classes always wanted to kill Dr. Frankenstein because he was worse.
Oh yes, the moral of Shelley's story, without us getting waxing too literary, right, is bad fathers beget bad sons, bad parenting, bad societies beget bad men or women. It was men back then, but you get the point. And so he did bad, horrible things, and you can lay every single act at the doctor's door.
Absolutely.
And so the idea of giving him a couple hundred years to make amends and find love and round out the character of the monster, because he is a character.
He is.
It's not a big bad off in the darkness. It's a character, and to be able to, and we're all, no matter how bad we are, we all deserve to find redemption somewhere, and that's awesome. What's your next? The internet wants to know some things. What is your next writing journey? What are you on to now?
Well, currently I am working on the second in a time travel series. Well, of course, and this one is called A Pocket in Time.
Pocket in Time.
And it is where a female time traveler goes back to Regency London and infiltrates a gang of pickpockets which was inspired
Very
by
Oliver Twist.
Of course.
Yes,
that's exactly
right.
what it's inspired
That's
by.
right. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, it does strike me. That's awesome. This female time traveler goes back because they're street urchins. You would imagine there are girls among them, but you know, an Oliver Twist story. And
They're all boys.
The contemporaries of the time, we only know the boys.
Right.
And so that'll be kind of neat.
Yeah, and she grew up on our streets of DC. Was
Oh,
you
so
know
she's a
bandit.
modern day
She's a modern
street
day, great at picking locks, great at picking pockets, and so
Fagan's gonna love her.
So her boss sends her to Regency England. She's like, I'm going to ruin this whole mission, and she's like, no, you're going to infiltrate pickpockets, and she's like, yeah.
Dang, that's it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you just keep going, right? You just.
There's so many classic stories I need to retell.
I love it.
Or I shouldn't say retell. Give them a better happy ending.
Give them a happy ending. Give
Yes.
them a little bit of comeuppance.
Absolutely.
Bad guys don't get comeuppance very often in Victorian literature.
No. No, they don't.
They usually, they invented getting away with it.
Exactly.
And even when a character has a happy ending-ish or a happier ending, not anywhere near what we imagine today as a happy ending.
Right.
Survival
Right.
in those days was a happy ending.
Yes,
and
exactly.
you know, Dickens, you're excused because you actually gave Scrooge like a whole redemption thing.
Oh, I have a whole series on the Christmas Carol.
Awesome.
Yeah, 4 books, because each spirit had to have its own love story.
Awesome. Those guys, they did. Look at the job they did.
I know, they deserve it.
They deserve something. That's right. That was a hard job too.
Oh, yeah.
You got one night.
Well,
and this guy's
for
as
mine,
bad as bad gets.
they're working with a widow who can't get over her husband's death.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow. These guys get some. They get the hard missions. Yeah.
Well, they're good at it.
Yes, they are. They've been amusing us and amazing us for 100 years. So yes, they are. Guys, we're being told to shut up, and I don't know why they do that, but they're doing it anyway. So we've been hanging out with Lexi Post, the author of Beast of Eden and many other books that we're going to link you to down below. Go on over to Lexi's Amazon page and just kind of click through, grab the books that you want, and come back later and grab the rest. In the meantime, we're going to thank our partners and friends at Famous Faces and Funny, Space Coast Comics, Indie Originals, J. Bauer Art, Cogler Emporium, Embellish Effects, Foxwood Wine Company, Hearts Helping Others in Central Florida, and Krypton Radio. Woo! Love it.
Excellent.
Love that list keeps getting longer. Love that the list of authors and artists that we speak to is getting longer. Love that you guys are still watching. So stay tuned in and stay logged on and see who we're hanging with next. Lexi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. 19 books in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I've got 28 total.